Sisters. The Novel. Part 2. Kristina. Chapter 4. Tall Folks. After lunch, David asked politely if I was tired, and I wasn't, and, his eyes shining with happiness, he suggested hitting a nightclub in Soho. It's very fashionable and really hard to get in, but my former flatmate, a DJ, is performing there tonight. He promised to let us in through the back door. This sounded exciting. Never before had I been to a fashionable London nightclub. I knew that Thursday nights were when people in this city started their pre-weekend craze, and there's no such thing as an empty pub, cafe, or bar in or around Soho. As we walked up the street, I saw a big crowd outside, much bigger than the one at the Chinese restaurant, but David made a brief phone call, and we sneaked into a small, imperceptible door just around the corner. So small, in fact, was the doorway that I had a hard time squeezing in. Even David needed to duck through, perhaps for the first time in his life, I thought with a quiet chuckle. As soon as we were in a long and narrow corridor, with dimmed lights and low ceilings, so that I couldn't stand up to my full height, David's friend gave me an odd look, then shook hands with my companion, and disappeared into the maze of passages and intersections. Before that, however, he told us how to get to the main hall, and we started moving in the indicated direction. "It's good you're not claustrophobic," said David, pointing at the lamps hanging at my chest level. "I know, and fortunately enough, I don't have hearing problems," I responded. The closer we got to the dance floor, the louder the music boomed, making our communication, already difficult due to the height difference, even harder. By the time we entered the club itself, we were shouting in order to hear each other. In spite of the loudness, the quality of sound was impressive, as was the choice of tunes, and I felt an urge to join the dancers at once. It wouldn't be easy, though. The place turned out to be even more popular than I'd expected, and even from my height I couldn't spot a place to squeeze in, let alone sit down and enjoy a drink. Folding in half and yelling like hell, I explained the situation to David, and he suggested that I keep trying to find a suitable place for us, while he fixed cocktails. I chose a tequila sunrise. "Whether you're waiting for me here or move elsewhere, please don't slouch too much, so that I can see you above others, okay?" he shouted, and headed to the bar. I couldn't follow the small guy's maneuvers, so dense the crowd was. So I just stood there like a lamp post, looking around for an empty space, like a hawk seeking prey from the skies. And pretty soon, my efforts paid off. I didn't find the space, actually the space found me instead. People who accidentally bumped into me were, quite predictably, so amazed by my appearance that they kicked their friends to attract their attention, and in a couple of minutes, I found myself at the center of a small, empty circle. What's more, other groups waved and gestured to me, inviting me to join them. I decided to stick with a gang of the tallest boys and girls I could spot. They stood above the rest by half a head on average. Not that they were much closer to my height than everybody else, it wasn't the case. I just thought, since they're pretty tall themselves, they would pay less attention to a girl tower among them. Besides, there's a general presumption that big guys prefer petite girls, so I was hoping they wouldn't see me as a potential sexual target. Not that I would mind that too much in a different situation, but now I was there with a guy I liked, so let's put all others on hold. I miscalculated. The whole company for girls and two boys immediately encircled me, trying to touch me as though accidentally as they danced. When the music paused, one of the guys, rather tall, around 1.90 meters, I'd say, the top of his head was almost up to the bottom of my breasts, put his hands to his mouth and shouted, as if into a megaphone. "Hi sexy, I'm Jim, and you're just fab. How tall are you?" "Hi Jim, I'm Krista, I'm a bit taller than you, and here's my friend David." "Thank you, darling," I bent a little, in order to grab the glass from his extended hand. "David, this is Jim and his friends, and I think we'd better sit down somewhere, it's a bit too hot over here." "Oh, is it?" "That's physics for you, Krista," said Jim, shaking hands with David. "Hot air always goes up, so the temperature at our level must be a couple of degrees lower than what you're feeling." And for that matter, your friend is in the best position among all of us, haha. That was true. Robin was the smallest there, he was shorter than Jim by a head or so. When I realized that, I thought I could have offended him unwillingly by choosing the tall environment, but he seemed to be okay. Yeah, the weather down here is great. And the view is even greater, he laughed, looking up at my stomach and stroking my right thigh tenderly. Good boy, you deserve the best view in the world, and I'll present it to you once I get hold of heels again. If you want to sit down, you can take our chairs for now, suggested one of the girls, an attractive redhead, who, on heels, was about the same height as Jim. Tanya and Brad must be at the table, guarding our chairs for us. Cool, exclaimed Jim, and touched my hand. I'll show you the way.
Like the story? Then you're in for a treat. Dive into more old gems and fresh madness, including the sharp, cheeky, and delightfully absurd Turkish Hotel. Read them all, or just peek, on my Patreon. Totally free. Just scan the QR code and come say hi.
Their table was isolated from the dance area, sitting in a relatively quiet corner. One could even talk there without risking too much damage to their vocal cords. And the conversation began even before we sat down. Wow, Jim, congratulations, said a girl, who was sitting there with a small bottle of Smirnoff Ice, next to a handsome guy. Perhaps too handsome to be straight. Tanya and Brad, apparently. You managed to beat all your previous records put together. Yeah, baby, am I cool or am I not? He announced proudly. But I must credit David for this. This is David, and this gorgeous girl's name is Krista. A foreigner, I suppose. Swede, I said, and turned to Tanya. What kind of record is that? Well, Jim is a notorious tall women lover. The taller the chick, the better, you know. Don't take me wrong, David, she added and turned back to me. His only goal is to see an extremely tall girl, find out her height if possible, and get a photograph of them standing together. This is what he calls a great success. Yeah, just a habit, a tribute to his school romance with the tallest girl in the neighborhood, intervened the handsome boy. Jim will never try to seduce a woman. And you know why? Because he's a.k.a. Aren't you, Jim? Yup, he confirmed easily, as if telling us that he had tea for breakfast. Then leaned over the table and kissed Brad on the lips. Until now, his biggest trophy was a girl who stands 6 feet and 10 inches, said Tanya. And guess what? That trophy is me. To demonstrate this, she stood up and looked down at Jim with a triumphant smile, before walking out from the table to take a position next to me. Well, another height comparison, why not? At least, this girl was very tall indeed. Yes, she was tall. Her bosom was at the level of Robin's face, and the top of her head almost up to my armpit. Though, unlike me, she was in heels. Oh my gosh, Krista, you've got height. Tanya went ecstatic once she realized just how much smaller she was against me. I've never felt this short before. Exactly how tall are you? I never remember this feet and inches thing. David, how tall am I? More than 8 feet. I can see that, protested Jim. How much more? 8 feet 6. No way. Unbloody believable. Thank you, I know. Sorry, Krista, no offense. It's just amazing, isn't it? 8.5 tall girl. And pretty, too. Man, what a shame I haven't got my camera on me. I feel like a toddler next to you and I'm a big man, aren't I, Brad? You are the biggest, Brad responded, with a playful giggle. Who knows what he was referring to. Yet right now, you do look like a toddler, laughed Tanya. Even I have to look up at Krista's shoulders, so you suck over there underneath. She hugged my waist and tilted her neck up at me. Is there anybody straight here? Are we in a gay club by chance? Just raise your arm, Krista, she said. I'm dying to stand under your armpit, it'll be such a thrill, I don't think I'll ever forget it. Do you mind? Why should I? For me, it will be quite an experience, too. Never before had I sensed a woman's head under my armpit while standing. Normally women, even taller ones, are not higher than the bottom of my boobs. Not to mention Brita, of course, but she's my sister, and we never play games like this with each other. Look, Jim, Krista is a real achievement of yours. With these shoes on, I'm more than 7 feet tall, and still I perfectly fit under her armpit. Would you know each other a little better, she could easily rest her beautiful tits on the top of your head. Yeah, Jim sounded charmed. He took a step closer to me and found a place beneath my other arm. No, it's not possible, he exclaimed, I can barely reach your shoulder with my hand. And I'm not short, am I? He looked down at David, who was standing there, hopelessly below everybody else. How come you guys are together? Tanya asked, when we all sat down at last. You are so different, Brad helped her with the word. Different, thank you. As a gesture of gratitude, she touched his arm. Once again, don't take this as an offense, you look simply adorable as a couple, but what? David wasn't smiling. I tried to defuse the situation. We're not a couple, I said. Not yet, I mean. This is, in fact, our first date. A date, yeah, exclaimed Jim. Then you are a couple in the making. Congratulations, Dave. My potential boyfriend seemed much relieved. There was no aggression at the table, only curiosity, which in our case comes with the territory. Thank you, he smiled. I hope we are. Are we? David stared me in the eyes. I smiled back. Who knows where this all will lead? So you don't mind being with a girlfriend who's so much taller than you are? Tanya didn't show a sign of willingness to shift the subject. Why don't you ask whether I mind being with a boyfriend so much shorter than I am? I intervened, laughing. Fair point, observed Brad. By the way, David asked in turn, how come that you guys are all so tall? Oh, we're all athletes, said Tanya. The guys play handball, and we do netball. Just hang out together occasionally. Are you into any sport, Krista? With your features, you could try any, I reckon. Except horse racing, laughed Brad. A poor animal would run away from under those legs of yours, and you'd still stay at the start line. No guys, I don't do sports. In fact, I did once upon a time.
Like the story? Then you're in for a treat. Dive into more old gems and fresh madness, including the sharp, cheeky, and delightfully absurd Turkish hotel. Read them all, or just peek, on my Patreon. Totally free. Just scan the QR code and come say hi.